start with Judge Hannah Dugan. So, Anna, you want to set this one up for everybody? What's going on here?
Sure. So this story is definitely catching a lot of attention because of the fact that a judge got arrested by the feds.
What is Valuetainment? Media company, YouTube channel founded by Patrick Bet-David, focuses on content related to entrepreneurship, business, leadership, and personal development. Channel gained prominence for its interviews with influential figures, educational business content, and Bet-David's own insights on business strategy and success. Okay, interesting. So it sounds like this channel is like, wow, it's got 7 million subbies. I did not know that. Owned by Patrick Bet-David and geared toward like business and entrepreneurship. So I'm wondering why they're talking about Judge Dugan. That was like the thing out of their mouths, right?
Catching a lot of attention because of the fact that a judge got arrested by the feds because of the fact that she was unwilling to cooperate with ICE, which had a warrant to arrest and detain an undocumented immigrant who was actually being heard during this hearing because of the fact that he had severely beaten someone by...
Okay, all of that information is completely irrelevant, has nothing to do with anything at all. Let me tell you exactly, or let me tell you what actually happened. Let me just verify this. This case, according to my lawyer wife, boils down to this. The question is, can the federal government force state governments to enforce their laws? And the answer is no. It's plain as day in the Constitution. You cannot force state governments to enforce federal laws. You just can't. That's why the federal government doesn't go into, say, Colorado, for example, and arrest every politician all the way up and down the line, every cop and everything, because they're all allowing weed shops to open up on the corner, or New York City. Nobody is doing anything about these weed shops. That does not put them in the line of sight to be arrested by the feds. If the feds want something done, the feds have to do something. That is how the Constitution is structured. And it's structured that way to prevent this exact thing from happening, to prevent the federal government from going rogue and trying to force states to bend the knee and capitulate and do whatever they say for fear of being arrested or whatever. The state governments are supposed to be separate from the federal government. Completely. Oh, nope. You can't be... All right, fine. I guess you can be up here for a minute, Kitty. The thing that the federal government can enforce, or rather, it's not something that the federal government is enforcing, it's just inherent in the structure, is if there's a constitutional amendment, or, you know, the Constitution generally, the states must follow the Constitution, full stop. And they must follow any Supreme Court rulings about the Constitution. So that's why you see, like, the Constitution can say abortion is not a right, and that means that states can now, you know, go through and ban it if they want and stuff like that. So anyway, it's a big complicated system, but the bottom line is that the federal government cannot force state governments to enforce their laws. The Judge Dugan thing is a case about exactly that, and it is not going anywhere. There's no way in hell it would get to the Supreme Court and anything would happen to it. The only reason that they arrested her is for fear and intimidation for others. That's it. They arrested her to intimidate other judges, to make them fear that maybe this is going to happen to them, you know, these judges who are hearing immigration cases, if they don't do exactly what the federal government says. The Constitution was written explicitly to prevent this. Anyway, yeah, it's the clearest cut case of a constitutional violation that you can imagine. Let's keep listening to Anna here. Oh yeah, and Anna said something like the immigrant was violent or something. Who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? What does that have to do with anything? The federal government still cannot force her. No, Miki, you cannot have my hash brown. The federal government still cannot force her to enforce their laws. I don't give a fuck if he's violent. States enforce their laws, feds enforce theirs. So let's listen to Anna propagandize and lie and fearmonger and twist shit out of proportion like a fucking Republican.
Who was actually being heard during this hearing because of the fact that he had severely beaten someone by
No idea what that's got to do with anything, or if it's even true. She's probably making this shit up completely.
punching them 30 times.
One was a woman, right? The guy's girlfriend he punched out.
Interestingly enough, there was two people tried to intervene as he was beating the crap out of this guy. The guy apparently...
God, this sounds so set up. It sounds like they planned what they were going to say. Well, it was his girlfriend, wasn't it? Well, actually, it was... Are you fucking serious with this? Who gives a shit? Feds cannot force states to enforce their laws. Bottom line.
asked him to turn the music down. He had, the man in question is Eduardo Flores Ruiz. Entered the country illegally not once but 2 times.
Right.
And the reason why he was in court is because he severely beat someone, punched him in the face 30 times because the guy asked him to turn his music down. At that point, his girlfriend tried to intervene to stop it.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
You know why I don't believe what she's saying here? I don't believe literally any of it. Like, not one word out of her mouth right now. I need to look it up myself to verify this information. The reason is because I watched Republicans do this shit to George Floyd. It took some time. They waited until things had calmed down, until they felt like, the public eye was off of him or whatever. But before you know it, they were talking about how he's a fentanyl addict and he had fentanyl in his system when he died, and it was really about an overdose. Complete fucking nonsense. All of it. Entirely made up. That's why I don't trust a word out of her mouth. Because these people, and when I say these people, I mean right-wing propagandists, which, sad to say, she now is, just make things up about people all the time. Just fabricate nonsense out of the ether.
He then proceeded to beat her, and then a third person intervened, and that third person was also assaulted by this guy. So basically, ICE showed up. They had a warrant to detain him.
I'm not sure that they had a warrant, but either way, it doesn't matter. Federal government cannot force states to enforce their laws.
Right.
As he was in court, but the judge, for whatever reason, thought it would be a great idea to assist him in evading ICE, allowed him to leave or exit the building through the juror's entry.
Just a complete lie. As far as I understand it, the side door exits out into the hallway, just like the front door. So it's not like he went on the run or something. He went out the side door. They got him anyway. It's not even like it mattered. They arrested her as a fear tactic to tell the other states, we're coming for you if you don't ignore the Constitution and do what we want.
And then ICE basically had to chase the guy to detain him. A week later, the federal government decided, no, she needs to face charges, and they arrested her.
This is
I don't think it was a week later, was it? Well, either way, it doesn't matter. It was unconstitutional, blatantly, plainly, on its face. Couldn't have possibly been more unconstitutional. You know what I've come to find as as my wife has gone through law school and I've watched a lot of the stuff that she's learned about and everything. I've come to find that the framers of the Constitution were really, really good at what they did at writing it. The cats are getting into something and it's driving me insane. Quit it. Get. Get. Oh my God. She's literally climbing into a box from the top. How the fuck did she fit in there? There's literally no exit now. She cannot get out. Oh my God. All right. Hang on. I gotta try to get a picture of this. Hold up. You can't even see her. There's literally nothing. Okay, I opened it up a little bit so that she can get out just in case. There's literally you know how you fold the edges in one after another so that it stays shut? That's what I did. I didn't even know it was an empty box. I thought I had shit in there. I should have broken that down forever ago. This is the top of the box. This is me opening the box just the slightest bit. And this is me opening it. Oh, this is me opening it and looking inside. And this is her right now. That's crazy, dude. Cats are liquid, as Emily Cherto says. Exactly. Holy shit. I did not think she could get in there. Truthfully, really. That is a tiny fucking hole. when she got in, her tail was the only thing sticking out of this little groove here. That's it. That was wild. She's kind of a big dumb oaf, though. Like, she doesn't know, she doesn't realize that she is 16 pounds. She thinks that she's only 5 pounds and that she can fit into places that she really cannot fit into. Wow, dude, that was crazy. I've never seen a cat squeeze into a space that tiny before, honestly. The framers of the Constitution were so ridiculously intelligent and clever with what they did, really. Like, I used to generally not have any respect for the Founding Fathers, really, just because they're people and the worship is getting a little fucking weird, you know? And that's true. It absolutely is getting a little fucking weird. But they are actually geniuses, like, really. The way that they formed out the Constitution, and when it was written, it was the first of its kind. There were similar things. You know, habeas corpus has existed since the 1300s or the 1200s or something. And a lot of these other principles had existed for a long time, but we were the first major secular state, for example. We were the first state to not have a state religion intentionally, specifically, to explicitly ban religion from being involved in government. Germany was very similar to our system in the United States. And at the time they didn't exist, actually. I don't think Germany didn't exactly. I think they were part of the Holy Roman Empire at that point, maybe. Anyway, they had had a state church since Martin Luther, since before that even. That whole region had had a state church, and the church is not legitimate, not chosen by God, unless it was trusted by the government, basically. The Founding Fathers built in so many protections, so many, like, checks and balances that we're still finding them. I didn't expect to need all of this shit, like separation of powers between the judiciary, the legislative branch, and the executive branch. I mean, yeah, I learned about separation of powers in school, but who gives a shit? Well, it turns out separation of powers guarantees that every single branch has a check on the other. They all have a check on each other. States control elections, and the federal government sets the rules that they cannot break through the Constitution. Adding a constitutional amendment is like an uphill battle. You have to have 2/3 of the states agreeing with you and some other stuff. 2/3 of Congress, I think, maybe. And the president signing it, possibly. I mean, there are so many checks and balances, it's ridiculous. Even jury nullification is a check on power, you know. Jury nullification was specifically not written out of the Constitution, like to ban it, to prevent people from doing it. Because it's supposed to act as a protection against a rogue judicial system. They are all checks on power. And the reason they put so many checks on power, the Founding Fathers, is because the government and the system that they came from was tyrannical, genuinely, and they didn't want anything to do with that anymore, and they wanted to protect people from it. It's actually very, very impressive. So anyway, we are actually benefiting from the Founding Fathers' foresight into having a secular state, having checks and balances, and, all that stuff. It's like really, really impressive. So anyway, every time I hear like Anna or anybody talk shit about one of the checks on power, it just like disgusts me, like truly disgusts me. Those checks on power are there for a fucking reason, obviously. And one of those checks on power is the federal government cannot force states to enforce their laws. They want to enforce it, they need to enforce it. Bottom line.
Building through the juror's entryway. And then ICE basically had to chase the guy to detain him. A week later, the federal government decided, no, she needs to face charges, and they
I'm not sure it was a week later. That doesn't sound right, but okay, whatever.
arrested her.
This is absolutely disgusting. Can we please show a picture of what the judge looks like so everyone can see who is masquerading as a...
This is vile right here. I mean, her name and everything are out there, but they're taking it a step beyond just like naming her, as everyone has, and they're showing her picture. They're making her a pariah to an audience that is renowned for being violent extremists. These people are truly deeply fucking vile. Like, you can find my name. My name is public. But if Donald Trump blasted it out on Truth Central and said that this guy is a traitor to the country, it would be a different ballgame. That would be doxing, even if the information is public, in my opinion, because he's targeting me specifically for terrorist attacks. And that's basically what they're doing here.
Servant of the justice system. This person is subverting everything in the name of, frankly, an illegal alien who should not be here.
No, she's not. She was following the law, actually.
Look at her. I mean, come on. It's a complete desecration of everything that we believe in. And I'm speaking.
It's literally not. The federal government cannot force states to enforce their laws. Are you fucking kidding me? Do they know that they're full of shit? Are they aware of it? Or are they just making shit up right now? Or what? Who told them that this is true? These people are propagandists, so they're going to take a position no matter what.
As a naturalized immigrant who came here the right way, I'm insulted. My family waited years to come here. We, like you, actually, like my friend Amy, we both did things the right way. We didn't hop the line. Yeah. We didn't storm the southern border,
It cost
right?
a lot of money. It took a lot of time. And
came through JFK Airport. My family created hundreds of jobs. We weren't parasites or leeches on the system. This is the way it should be done.
This is really vile, dude. This is fucking disgusting, honestly. Being a refugee is what I assume they're talking about. Being a refugee and seeking asylum is not parasitic. It's a humanitarian crisis. And as a tax-paying citizen, I want to make sure those people are taken care of. Refugees, people from war-torn areas that just lost literally everything, and if they turn around and walk the other direction, then they're going to fucking die. Yeah, we should at least consider their claim, right? They can be contributing members to society if we allow them in and give them the ability to work and everything else. In fact, the vast majority of undocumented immigrants are working in the United States. You know that trope about standing out by the Home Depot? That's called fucking working. The point is that these people are trying to separate immigrants into leeches and Americans. These people are Americans. Yeah, they may have come in through ports and all of that, but they're Americans. Refugees, not Americans, never will be, because they're leeches by definition. Also, being a refugee is not it's not undocumented. It's not illegal. You're applying for refugee status. You're perfectly allowed to enter the country without documentation and make your way to a UN refugee center. That's why the border is open there, so that people can, it's a humanitarian corridor. These people are fucking disgusting, honestly. And Anna, contributing to this, what is wrong with you? Really? What is broken in your brain that you'd think that this is okay?
Well, look, I think this particular case goes beyond someone simply entering the country illegally.
Right.
I also don't love using words like parasites to refer to human beings, but putting that aside, this is someone who has...
Anna, you lay down with dogs, you're gonna get up with fleas. Is that the saying? Does this surprise you at all? Like, literally at all? That your co-hosts are fucking monsters? Why are you even here? What are you doing here? If you don't like all of this vile rhetoric, why are you even here? That is all these people have to offer. The answer is she does like this vile rhetoric. She just wants to virtue signal a little bit while she's there. And somebody else said, how much did she get for selling her soul? I don't think she did. I don't think she sold her soul. I think she's a believer. Horrifically, disgustingly. I think she believes the nonsense that she's spreading right now.
Like parasites to refer to human beings, but putting that aside, this is someone who has committed violent crimes, who has no problem literally punching someone in the face 30 times. Like, I get that left-wingers, Democrats want to always do the opposite of what the Trump administration wants, but let's...
It is like the exact opposite. Republicans are contrarians to the absolute core. How can she even say such a thing? It is always about what liberals are doing. Their whole personalities are making liberals cry. I don't understand.
Let's take a beat and really reevaluate what's being defended here by Democrats.
And why is it being defended? That is more so my question. We understand that sometimes, just like...
She just said, Why are Democrats defending this? He's a wife beater. I'm not defending him. I'm defending the judge who doesn't have to enforce federal law if she doesn't want to.
Like legal citizens of this country, immigrants do terrible things. I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe the parasitic label is going a little too far.
Really? That's the thing that brought you too far. Okay.
However,
I don't think so in the case of wife beater.
I understand.
Oh my God, dude. Well, you can call wife beaters parasites if you want, but they're not necessarily. I mean, a lot of them are like functioning members of society, so I'm not even sure what you're talking about. You're calling him a parasite because he is an immigrant. Because he's an immigrant. No other reason. There's no other thing behind it. Being a wife beater is not parasitic. It's scumbag. What a vile, disgusting fucking excuse to call somebody a parasite. These people are vile.
That, but I'm saying labeling immigrants overall. My question for you, being somebody who's more so on the left side of things, what is with the left's position to want to defend these people literally till the ends of the earth when parasitic behavior, and I'll give you that label for this person, is fully on display? Why do they want to defend it?
Because that person isn't who we're dealing with. I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. He's not on trial. Well, he is, but that's a whole different thing. We're not talking about him. We're talking about the judge.
So much to the point that they're literally concealing and trying to get this person out of the judge chambers through a backdoor entrance.
I think the country had a problem with hyperpartisanship prior to Trump, but Trump basically took that issue and now it's on steroids. And so when your brain is so broken that you're unwilling to agree.
And it's the Democrats' brains that are broken. Not Republicans, but Democrats. See how she's framing this? My God, dude.
Agree with the Trump administration on something that's totally agreeable, which is bringing this guy who's here illegally to justice and deporting him. You've lost the plot.
We're not talking about him. It has nothing to do with this. We're talking about arresting a fucking judge because she wasn't enforcing federal laws. My God, dude. This is what they do. This is what I'm talking about. They find one thing that they think justifies vile, fucked up behavior against somebody, and they just lean into it. That's all they talk about. Like George Floyd. I don't give a fuck. If George Floyd was an addict, I couldn't possibly care less. I have no idea. I can't fucking trust these people to tell me the truth about anything, so I'm just going to assume they're not telling the truth. But either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he was on drugs. It's irrelevant. What matters is that he was killed by a cop.
Right? So I'm in favor of immigration. I think that immigration is what makes this country great. Obviously, I want legal immigration. I also understand that some people are going to try to enter illegally. There are people here with undocumented status who have been here for decades, who have contributed to this country, who have contributed and been productive members of society.
I think he's Native American.
Yeah,
and literally, right?
Yeah, and
Armenian
we need to,
parents,
Armenian
immigrants.
parents. I mean, my parents came in legally, but look, I just think we have a broken immigration system, and I think we need to make it easier for people who want to come here and build, not only build lives for themselves, but contribute to making this country great. We need to have avenues in which they can do that legally.
That doesn't really exist right now.
It doesn't.
There is no middle
That doesn't
ground.
address the fact that you cannot have these judges who are placed in positions of power acting like these vigilante warriors.
She wasn't acting as a vigilante warrior. She was choosing not to enforce federal law, which she is not obligated to do.
Just so inappropriate. And Trump derangement syndrome is real.
Okay, let me play devil's
Oh my God, dude.
advocate for you here, though, for just a moment, because I happen to agree with all of you regarding this particular incident. However, I could point to several others. For example, a Trump-appointed judge, okay, and her name was, I believe it was like Stephanie Garrett. Does this ring a bell? She had a kid who was 20 years old, who crossed the border as an unaccompanied minor, forgive me. And they struck a deal with DHS where they said, listen, these kids are now applying for asylum. You can't deport any of them right now until their asylum case can be adjudicated.
Right.
The kid is not a gang member.
Right.
He was arrested once for drugs, not dealing drugs, doing drugs. And out of the country he goes, and
That's all they needed to say. That's it. That he was arrested for doing drugs once. It's over now. The conversation's over. All these people care about is that he's a leech, quote unquote, on society. 12 years old. He's still a leech on society in their mind. It's just like really fucking disgusting. Like these people are just vile, honestly.
A Trump-appointed judge was like, no, bring him back. Then you've got the gay makeup artist, who I briefly referenced yesterday. And this one, guys, I'm with you on 99% of this. But this is where Trump goes off the rails.
I agree with you on that.
Okay, that's why they all need due process, so that shit doesn't happen. They're saying, well, Trump went off the rails. It shouldn't be up to Trump. That's the thing. It shouldn't be up to him. It should be adjudicated by a judge. Everybody should have their opportunity to prove themselves in court. And the problem is that Trump is taking that away. God, these people are like airheads.
All right, there's a kid, his name is Christian. He's a gay Venezuelan makeup artist, a theater enthusiast, comes over from, as mentioned, Venezuela, all right? And he gets scooped up by ICE because he has 2 tattoos that actually mean mother and father.
Correct, yeah.
But they misinterpret them as gang tattoos. He applied.
That's exactly what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Trump put his knuckles up there in a picture or whatever to show that he was a member of MS-13. And somebody, whoever it was, photoshopped MS-13 in Arial font above each symbol to show that it was an MS-13 tattoo. And Trump, I don't think he believes this. There's no way in hell he believes this. He's lying about it, almost certainly. But he claimed that he had MS-13 tattoo. I mean, the Arial font MS-13 that was like misshapen and in odd places, it was very clearly pasted on there to show what the gang tattoos meant. He thinks that was an actual tattoo, supposedly. Anyway, apparently that was a smile. No, it was a weed and a smiley face with X's and then a cross and a skull on each knuckle. And somebody told me what that means. Apparently it actually means smoke weed, get high, love God till you die. It's a saying, apparently. I was unfamiliar. But this is just a prime example of them making shit up. They can make up whatever the f*** they want. They can say whatever the f*** they want. And it doesn't matter because there's no opportunity to go into a judge or go in front of a judge and prove yourself because there's no f***ing due process. They can literally say anything about him. And all we have to do is sit there and accept it. We have no choice because it hasn't been adjudicated. This is the problem right here. This is the problem. Donald Trump is a problem. These poor, dumb fools are the problem in society.
For asylum upon entering the country. They deport him to El Salvador, that's not his country, to a prison. He's not a criminal. Then it's ordered to bring him back.
Right.
And not just any person,
They
mega
won't
person.
do it. And this is where I would say to anybody who's 100% for this mass deportation, what about that? Why is that happening?
That's happening because there's no due process. There needs to be due process to make sure that these people are actually who they say they are and they actually deserve to go there. Nobody deserves to go there, by the way, but we need to make sure that, they're bad people at the very least.
Answer that question
Because
for
the
me.
process is so slow right now that mistakes are bound to happen. Like, I think it's like
Great. Then cut down on the mistakes by giving people the thing they were promised in the year 1200 by the Magna Carta, due process. That reduces mistakes, believe it or not. You know what's really horrifying to me? We have the most stringent, strict laws around the death penalty imaginable. Like, people have to go through this whole process. They have to go through a ton of appeals trials, and they have to have the strictest form of evidence, strict scrutiny, I think is what it's called, to get the death penalty. I mean, you've got to be 100% sure that these people did what was claimed before you can put them to death. And 4% or 6% of death row inmates are 100% completely and totally innocent. Still, with the strict, stringent rules in place. Now, how many people are in El Salvador who are completely innocent? If these people are to be believed, this woman right here, by the way, what is wrong with her head? It's fucking gigantic. I'm sorry, I don't go there usually, but it's just drawing a lot of attention to me right now. If this woman were asked, she would say they all did something wrong because they're immigrants and immigrants are leeches and it's wrong to be a leech. That is fucking vile right there. That is some vile shit.
Few 100,000.
There's the kid.
He's deporting.
That kid is gay. Does that look like a friggin'
Wait,
gang?
can I please finish this?
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry.
So, like, right now, Trump has made immigration his end-all, be-all, but the rate is so slow because of this judicial slowdown.
Right.
You due process? It's slow because we want to make sure we get it right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, obviously.
He's encountering so many impediments. So he's trying to accelerate the process, and by virtue of that, mistakes are going to be made. But his
Yup. You're getting it. Great. We're on the same page now.
base doesn't care. They don't care about a gay.
Let's talk about the mistake, though, Lindy. Let's talk about the mistake for a second, okay? Because we're talking about
But look
a
how
guy
gay this kid
who
is.
came into
This is
the
not a
country
gangbanger, guys.
through legal means, okay? Applied for asylum, did so through legal means. He's gay, and the reason why he fled Venezuela is because he was terrified that the Venezuelan gangs in Venezuela were going to kill him because he's gay. So
respond
hold
to
on,
that.
let me finish my point. He had a legitimate asylum claim. And if you want to talk
The vast majority of people that Trump nutcases are complaining about aren't undocumented. They're asylum seekers. Asylum seekers are documented, but they don't seem to understand that.
talk about like, oh, well, mistakes were made. We're talking about a guy who was sent to an El Salvadorian prison where he's probably being abused in all sorts of ways because of the fact that he's gay.
Know if he's
Okay,
alive.
can we just take a step back and ask a broader question? I'm actually with Trump on this. It's one of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party, because my
You didn't leave the Democrats. Give me a fucking break. You were never a Democrat to be in this mindset right here. This is vile shit right here, really.
views on immigration have been shifting right. Why is it America's responsibility to grant asylum? Like, why?
Well, it's just a humanitarian thing. Like, it's just, let me frame it this way. Imagine a tsunami runs into California and fucking destroys LA. Just destroys it. Literally, buildings leveled, cars floating out in the ocean, and like 100,000 people out of the millions that live there, 100,000 people survive. And they are literally crawling to the next town in Arizona. They've lost all their shit. One dude lost his kid. Everything is fucking gone. As a Christian, I would think you would, and I assume you're a Christian if you're a Republican. They're kind of, you know, self-proclaimed Christian anyway. They're kind of, you know, one and the same at this point anyway. As a Christian, I would think that you would take in your neighbor who is suffering, your Californian neighbor who just lost fucking everything, including his kid and his wife and his fucking dog. I would think that you would care about him enough to take care of him and take him in. Let him live in your house until he gets on his feet, because he's such a fucked up mess right now. He's lost everything, right? Seems like the Christian thing to do to me. Now, what if that was the case 100 miles further south? What if that tsunami hit 100 miles to the south instead? You don't think we have any obligation? You don't think you have an obligation as a Christian or as just a decent human being to try to help? You're not even asked to bring him into your fucking house. You're being asked to basically pay a fraction of a penny on your tax dollars to have the court system adjudicate whether their claim is valid. That's pretty much it. And she can't even do that. This person is literally crawling on their hands and knees, asking for help, begging for it, because their lives have been destroyed so completely and totally. And you, the Christian, are saying, go fuck yourself. Why do I have a responsibility to allow this person in? Is it different when they were from California? If it's different when they're from California rather than Mexico or wherever, then you're racist. That's it. It's racism. There's no other explanation or reason or anything. You're just a racist sack of shit.
Why is it our responsibility to take people
It's written
in?
into law.
I mean, and it's
Like,
something
why
that
do we
was
need to?
revoked, right, with the new
Yeah,
administration.
I agree
However,
with
but
that.
what about the people who were already here? And
We can grandfather them in.
Yeah, but he came in here
Let's
on
grandfather
legitimate
him in.
asylum claims.
Exactly.
And we had this conversation at dinner, and you were telling me about this. I nearly didn't believe you. I'm like, are you
No, I'm
sure
sure.
he didn't do anything
I'm
wrong?
sure.
No, Jillian, I know. I went home and I did my
Yeah.
own research, and honestly, I'm really saddened by this case, and we need to have some.
Really saddened. He's literally taken to a concentration camp, a slave labor concentration camp, where the lights are on 24/7, and they sit in gigantic rows, and they don't talk to each other ever. They're not allowed to. I mean, 70 people to a cell, all sitting in big, gigantic rows. No talking, no moving, no passing out, no laying down, no nothing. That's it. What is fucking wrong with you that you would be okay with that? That you would justify that in any way? What broke in you?
Some type of recourse in place where it should be measure twice, cut once. But in the instance where there are mistakes, we do need to have a system.
Okay, that was a Joe Rogan phrase. She watches Joe Rogan, obviously, and the only reason she's opposed to what's happening right now is because Joe Rogan is. That's just...
in place some recourse.
100%.
Get him back.
And there's many people who are speaking out about this.
Yes, I agree.
Stopping you from saying, okay, we've got a big task at hand. You can even smear the Biden administration as much as you want. They let 300,000 people in a month. Millions came over. Tons of gotaways. If 1% of them are criminals, which I was told by Brandon Judd, who previously ran the border, that's too many. 140,000 criminals, Chinese national, terrorists. We get it. Gang members, no good. But when someone goes, yeah, no, that guy, gay makeup artist, mistake, oops, sorry, bring him back.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that I don't really understand about this.
Shouldn't have been sent out in the first fucking place. Don't bring him back. Don't send him out, as Joe Rogan and this one chick said.
Administration, because in the areas in which Trump was actually seen favorably, right, on immigration, for instance.
You know that measure twice, cut once thing? That's a really clever thing for Rogan to have said. It's kind of it's a piece of propaganda, but it's a good one. I say that because it's a soundbite that's designed to appeal to the working class and their sense of duty and integrity and their methods of doing things and everything. It's really, really good. Measure twice, cut once. Everybody knows that's what you do.
He's actually now losing a lot of goodwill among Americans, independents in particular, who are like, yeah, this immigration issue under Biden is untenable and we need to do something about it. Trump comes in, he has a high approval rating when it comes to immigration policies. Because of these mistakes and the administration's unwillingness to right these wrongs and take ownership of their mistakes, he's starting to lose favorability on the areas in which he's most popular.
I think people are just so angry about what happened over the past 4 years.
Let's talk about why. Why don't we lay out?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how fucking angry you are. You cannot send innocent people to a concentration camp. You can't do that. Legally, you can't do that. Trump is choosing to do it anyway, despite the law, and your dumbass is defending this. Really, what is wrong with you? How can you possibly defend this shit? I don't understand.
Angry about what happened over the past 4 years.
Let's talk about why. Why don't we lay out why that's so bad for everybody? The difference of illegal immigration and legal immigration.
Exactly. Let's analyze what happened here.
Right, very different.
And asylum, again, because coming in as a legal immigrant and coming in as a refugee and seeking asylum, completely different.
Let's talk about what happened.
Because why would you use the word parasite? Elaborate on that.
Well, I'm talking about why people are so angry right now.
I get it.
Because Biden f***ed up. He truly did. And he lied to everybody saying that we needed a bipartisan immigration bill. No, we needed a president who was willing to actually, close our borders to make sure that we had a sensible immigration system. Biden just didn't do any of that. And he let all...
He tried. You know what happened? Donald Trump instructed Republicans not to work with Biden, because he said he wanted to solve the immigration problem and he didn't want Biden to have a W before the election. Really. Trump called Congress and shot down the immigration bill because he wanted to solve it. That is called looking out for yourself rather than your country. He is not qualified to be a president. He is a vile human being.
All these millions of people in, and they're a drain on our resources. And I live in a big city, so I see it literally every day. You can't.
Yeah, I lived in New York City. I lived in Manhattan for 5 fucking years. The past 5 years, I just left. I don't want to hear it. There were no ill effects from immigration in New York City. Give it a fucking rest. You're so full of shit. Now I live in Philadelphia. What are you talking about? Which city is being ravaged by immigration, quote unquote? This is like when they said cities are burned down by BLM. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. No cities were burned down by BLM. You're just making this up completely. There was a fire at a police station, police precinct 33 or something, that was lit by Trump supporters to provoke everything and everybody and all of that. It was lit by Trump supporters. That's pretty much it. Were there looters? Of course, yes, absolutely. Were they Trump supporters? Probably some of them. I have no idea. The point is that this person is selectively remembering things that are incorrect, inaccurate, and intentionally targeting Democrats as the evil ones and completely ignoring Republicans' roles in literally anything at all. She's lying. She's propagandizing.
Cannot tell me this isn't happening. I live in
Right, it is
Philadelphia.
happening.
It was
We're
one of
seeing
the
it in
top issues.
California with Gavin Newsom finding some sort of a loophole to use taxpayer dollars, which is meant to be illegal.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
How did he figure this out?
He wanted to provide health care to undocumented immigrants in California. And honestly, he totally underestimated how much it would cost. And right now, the state's
Oh, wait, is she talking about Gavin Newsom? I missed it.
Poll to use.
Wait.
It was
We're
one of
seeing
the
it in
top issues.
California with Gavin Newsom finding some sort of a loophole to use taxpayer dollars, which is meant to be illegal.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
How did he figure this out?
He wanted to provide health care to undocumented immigrants in California. And honestly, he totally underestimated how much it would cost. And right now, the state's in a lot of financial trouble, partly because of that, partly because of mismanagement of funds. I mean, the state can't account for $24 billion they allocated for homelessness.
Okay, I don't think that they can't account for it. That doesn't sound right. Maybe. Or do you mean they spent that money on trying to solve homelessness and they only put a dent in it rather than solving it? Is that what you mean to say? Because those are two very dramatically different things.
That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, the state is a complete nightmare right now.
But when you're taking
I don't think California is that bad, but you know what? I've been through California like once or twice or something, 3 times. I don't know. I don't spend much time there. I have no idea what it's like there. Maybe it's a total train wreck, for all I know. Maybe that is where cities are being burned down. I have no clue. But that whole burning down cities thing, that specific claim was about Minneapolis police precinct. And they kind of branched that out into like every single city in the United States is being burned down by the left. So it's just nonsense.
taking those dollars,
Right.
and you've utilized some sort of a loophole, which I can't even fully understand. I looked it up once. In the future, we'll be on Grok. But he somehow, because technically, I guess federally, you are not allowed to do it.
Correct, right. But these are state resources. So
That's how
he's
we
using
did it.
state
So,
resources. to
Jillian,
do
you
this.
asked me why I use language like
agree
that
with you
because they
there.
are a drain on our system, and Americans need so much help right
Yes, you said that. You're still a vile fucking human being for calling people parasites like that. You're not winning anybody over here. You are fucking vile.
now.
Yes,
I
I see
really very want to take care of our own people because they're ailing. Our kids are going into deteriorating schools. We lack the resources to take care of our own people.
Hey, guess what? We can do all of it. We can do all that shit at the same exact time. And honestly, most of that shit doesn't take anywhere near the amount of money that one would think. Taking care of refugees is like pennies on the dollar. Almost nothing. Because refugees really take care of themselves. All you have to do is make sure that they have somewhere to land, like, a refugee center to appear to, and you give them the ability to work, like, legally in the United States, and maybe give them, like, a shelter that they can live in for, like, 3 months out of the year or something, just to kind of get on their feet. That's all you got to do. You know how we can do all of it? Take care of our schools and take care of, the humanitarian crisis that is refugees. Tax the rich. That's how we do it. We tax the rich. We're not a poor country. People acting like we're destitute over here. Yeah, we're $36 trillion in debt. You know why? Because Elon Musk is not paying his fair share of taxes. That's why. He says, I paid billions last year. Yeah, and what is that? 0.06% of your wealth? I'm paying 24%. Where the fuck is your 24%? If we charged billionaires what they should be charged, we would not have a debt. That debt is there Because Republicans are doing a strategy called starve the beast. You may have noticed it. The plan is to destroy the federal government, right? It's been to destroy the federal government since forever. They've been talking about how they want it to be so small that you can drown it in a bathtub, quote unquote. I believe that was Newt Gingrich, maybe, or something. And they know that they can't convince Democrats to do spending cuts. So what do? They cut taxes. They cut taxes until we have literally no option but to cut spending. Like, there is no choice but to cut spending on things because we're $36 trillion in debt. That's been the plan all along. The solution is not cut spending. Cutting spending won't even get us out of this. We couldn't cut enough spending to solve this problem. If Republicans were intelligent, they would have cut exactly enough taxes to make this an untenable situation, but not so much that it would be impossible to dig your way out without raising taxes. We have to raise taxes now. We have no choice but to raise taxes because of the fucked up, insane mess Republicans have put us in.
And that's just my point of view.
I agree. You can't pull from
Step back here.
I want to take care of our own people because they're ailing. Our kids are going into deteriorating schools. We lack the resources to take care of our own people.
No, we don't. We don't lack those resources, actually. We have more than enough resources to do that. We have enough resources for everybody in the country to be pretty well off, but it's all concentrated in one little spot instead. So now there are a ton of poor or lower middle class people and like 3 rich people. It's pretty much it. That's the problem.
That's just my point of view.
I agree. You can't pull from an empty cup,
Yes,
right?
you
And it's
exactly.
like
It's not fucking empty. What gave you this ass backward idea that the United States is dirt poor? Where did you get this? Who fucking told you this?
need to,
Raise
I said that last night at
there we
dinner.
go.
We need to focus on ourselves and get ourselves in a great position where we are able to once again open up to asylum seekers and bring people over and help them. But if we can't even figure out what's going on in our own house, how are we meant to help everybody else at the same time? You brought up the bipartisan border bill. I think that is an important thing to touch on because so many people are like, hey, the Biden admin really tried to sort out the situation. I'd love to know what you think as someone who comes from the left, because wasn't that like an omnibus bill? And there was a bunch of like aid for Ukraine and a bunch of other things.
They did include all sorts of provisions that weren't really related to reforming our immigration system.
Right.
Wait, were they just talking about Ukraine? I'm sorry. When she opened her mouth, I'd fucking zone out. One more time.
Many people are like, hey, the Biden admin really tried to sort out the situation. I'd love to know what you think as someone who comes from the left, because wasn't that like an omnibus bill? And there was a bunch of like aid for Ukraine and a bunch of other things.
Okay, she mentioned Ukraine. For the record, Ukraine is the best money that we have ever spent. Embarrassing a historical adversary, proving that they're about as weak as it gets, certainly weaker than the United States, without a doubt. It was the best money that we have ever spent as a country, and demonizing Ukraine is clear as day, only happening because Vladimir Putin wanted it to. There is no other reason why anybody in the United States, Republican, Democrat, anybody, would be opposed to helping Ukraine. None.
Yeah, they did include all sorts of provisions that weren't really related to reforming our immigration system.
Right.
Okay, so I'm actually of two minds on that issue because I think that the Biden administration totally neglected the border until it became a political liability. And
Okay, that's just complete nonsense. Fewer or just about the same amount, I don't remember, of immigrants passed the border, or immigrants, I'm saying immigrants, I mean refugees, more than likely. People who are people who passed through the humanitarian corridor. People going through the humanitarian corridor, more of them passed through the corridor under Trump, or just about the same number than under Biden. I should probably find out. Yeah, no, I can't, I'm not getting reputable information here. How many border crossings under Biden? All of the stuff that comes up is .gov websites. There are no news reporting websites talking about this, and .gov websites are completely untrustworthy now. You should have seen some of the shit that it said on the COVID-19 website .gov. It was insane. All right, here we go. This is PBS fact checking the Trump White House's claims about illegal immigration dropping sharply. quote, daily illegal alien encounters plummet 95%. Just for the record, Nazis called undocumented immigrants, or just called immigrants, they were Jews. The Jews were the immigrants at the time. He called them aliens, too. Just want to stick that in your ear. Daily illegal alien encounters plummet 95% under President Trump, read a graphic posted February 15th. An accompanying bar graph showed the number 20,086 next to a photo of former President Joe Biden and the figure 1,041 next to a photo of Trump. Oh, they're p-hacking is what it's doing. They're cutting the bar graph off at convenient spots. That's what it looks like. It looks like actually the border crossings are down from Biden to Trump's second term by 60%, not 95%. But that's not what I was looking for. Immigration ebbs and flows, so it's unclear how long any drop will last. Illegal immigration started dropping before Trump's second term in September. Actually, in August. It started dropping in August. Well, honestly, it started dropping in May. Like a lot. See if I can pull this over. Hold on. Here you go. This is the graph. This is PBS. They're reasonably trustworthy. It started dropping off hard, like before the election even took place. It looks like March is when it started plummeting. May, June 2024. During his first term, illegal immigration at the southern border dropped sharply after he entered office, similar to what we've seen at the start of his second term, but soon after rose steadily month after month. It went back down in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic. In the months before Trump left office, illegal immigration was rising again. Okay, here we go. This is a pretty decent chart right here. So it hit a low in 2017. And then it started going back up 2018, 2019, it skyrocketed. And then it fell off again because of COVID, presumably. Or before COVID, honestly, it fell off. But it really fell off around COVID. And then it started gradually building again. January 2020. Let's see. Graph. Hang on. Border crossing graph by month, by year. No, by month. Let's look at the months. So you can't trust government websites anymore, unfortunately. What the fuck is USA Facts? This is not true. This is a lie. USA Facts? This is not true. I mean, we just read about this on... It is so fucking difficult to find real information on this. ChatGPT cannot be trusted because it pulls from government sources. You know what? Let me try something else. Do not give me any sources from... .gov websites. Reanalyze. How many border crossings under Biden v. under Trump's first term? Let's see if we can get an answer from it now. God, it's like pulling teeth to fucking find answers to things, honestly. All right, non-governmental sources. What sources did we use to get this? The White House. It used the White House as a source, and the Department of Homeland Security. Why is it using, no matter what I say, .gov websites? Do not give me information from the White House website, the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, or any other government source. Find news sources only, not government sources. What's the answer? I was worried Trump was going to try to co-opt ChatGPT in some way. Turns out he didn't need to. You just modify government websites and that solves it. .gov websites used to be trustworthy sources. You used to be able to go there and be sure that what you read there was pretty trustworthy. And now you cannot trust them. You cannot trust government websites. That is like really, really fucking disturbing, honestly. All right, so I said no government websites, no nothing, just tell me the facts. From news sources only. Customs, Borders, and Protection reported over 10 million border encounters, blah, blah, blah. So I'm getting the impression that whether it comes from a government website or not, it's coming from government organizations. Those are the ones that track it anyway. So even if it's not coming from a .gov website, it's still untrustworthy. That's the impression I'm getting here. But I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I have no way to know. I don't have any way to get the answer exactly in a trustworthy way because this is all written like it's propaganda. So the point here is the answer is that we don't know. We don't know. We have no idea how many there were.